Well, greetings. Welcome to another video. Today is a little bit of a ramble, but I think it's a rabbit hole worth going down. Um, Virtualization. It's something that you can embrace, you can ignore it, you can do your own thing, you can do whatever you want. It's your computer. Um, my source for today's video is some frustration I've been going through trying to build out some tooling for me to get some actual work done. I don't mean that in the wrong way, but I have struggled, as I've mentioned casually before. My day job, I'm an engineer. I design things in CAD software, so I need CAD software to do things. Well, to do that kind of stuff, I also need to have an operating system that supports the tools I need to use. And the issue is, oh my gosh, it didn't used to be the case, but holy crap, CAD software is a problem. Now, I am a multi-OS person. I primarily daily drive Linux these days. I boot up Windows once in a cold day in hell and do a few things on it, and it might be CAD for the foreseeable future. Um, I've been trying to move to more open tools, better tools that work better for me, that sort of thing. But you need virtualization sometimes. Um, not everybody takes their software journey, Linux journey, whatever you want to call it, and is able to get it perfect the first time. And that much is definitely for sure. So there's a few different pieces of software we can talk about. I'll try to overlay some clips of these. One of them I will demonstrate a little bit here on a computer that hasn't been on the channel yet. It will eventually. I don't use all three anymore. I have my own reasons. I will still technically end up using two of them, but very interchangeably. The big three to me that are important to me: you've got your VirtualBox, you've got your VMware, and you've got your KVM. Now, some people just glazed over what are these things. Well, VirtualBox is from Oracle. It is an open source, or at least the virtual machine manager itself is open source, but we won't get into the weeds. It is an open source virtual machine manager that is kind of noobish friendly. It's the one I've used majority of the time. I have messed with virtual machines, and it's what I'm familiar with. It is made by Oracle. Oracle has a lot of issues. They're not a great company. But if you're looking for something that's fairly easy to set up, fairly easy to do certain mundane things, VirtualBox is there, and it does exist. It'll let you do the bulk majority of what you need to do. The second one on this list is VMware. Now, VMware used to be the golden standard in the professional sphere. They made a killing on virtualizing stuff for customers in the enterprise space, and there was a VMware player that you could download and use locally. That was the free version, essentially. And I used it a little bit back in the day, but I hadn't used it in years until somewhat recently in the past year. Broadcom has since bought VMware, and things have gone very downhill, but we won't necessarily talk about it in that regard. Just know that it's got pretty good performance. Unlike VirtualBox, which is kind of just middle of the road performance, VMware has really good performance on using both Linux, using it on Mac OS, on Windows. The virtual machine itself typically has pretty good performance. I don't have a lot of bad things to say. That some of the UI is a little dated, but it's overall pretty solid. Now, one of the last ones that I haven't talked about too much, you could lump Hyper-V in here if you want to. The native solutions. Microsoft is Hyper-V. We're not going to talk about it. It's a piece of shit. I've certainly never got it to work properly. KVM or Virt Manager, QEMU, some people know it as GNOME boxes. These are just different front ends for the same technology called KVM. And this is the Linux native approach, but Parallels and UTM are still kind of their own thing, but same general technology. It's an open source virtual machine manager. It's literally why it's called Virt Manager, Virtual Machine Manager. Most distros have pretty ready access to it. If you don't, let me know. But typically, they exist everywhere. There's even meta packages that pull in everything you need. The kernel has native support for it, and it's supposed to be a really good piece of software. I've had my doubts, and we'll get around to it in a little bit. But there are reasons you might want to virtualize. In my particular case, I need a piece of software that I can't get on Linux. And so I need access to this software, and Wine just isn't good enough. CAD software and Wine is also a problem. That's a whole other rant for another day. But the TLDR is I need this software, Wine isn't good enough, and Virtual Machine could get me by without having to dual boot all the time. You either want to try out an operating system. This is the best reason to have virtual machines. Go grab VirtualBox, throw Linux Mint in there, throw OpenSUSE in there, and have fun. You're not going to hurt anybody. You're going to have a little bit of fun. And then when you're done, you can just delete the VM. Not a big deal. My case, which is you want to use an app that's either made for a certain OS or it's an app that isn't supported on modern OSs anymore. Case in point, I use a piece of software called Trimble SketchUp. Some people might know it, some don't. It is an old piece of software. It's getting on a decade old, unfortunately, now, where for whatever reason, it doesn't work well in modern Windows. It sort of works correctly. I've gotten it to work anyway if you figgle with it.
What? What the fuck?
And Wine, it kind of works, kind of doesn't. It's a bit jank. It'll sort of work well, okay enough, but it's jank. And then CAD is another good example. I'm a SolidWorks boy, I'm sorry. I'm going to learn FreeCAD, I'm going to learn Blender, but you got to give me time. The last thing on that, you may literally just want a disposable environment, and there's many reasons for that I could go into, but you could also be testing a piece of software, or in my case, I use VMs more often than not of, hey, I wrote this bash script. Rather than destroying my host system, why don't I test that first? And my post-install script and stuff that you can find on my Codeberg is exactly that. I do at least stick it in a VM. Let's make sure it works, and that everything goes according to plan. Sometimes things do not go according to plan. And if you test that piece of software and it doesn't work the way you expect, you just delete the VM. It's as if it was never created. Now, this is the point in the video where I'm going to be splicing in some stuff of some of my frustrations over the past few hours looking into stuff like this. I'm going to be real with you. Virtualization is incredibly frustrating. There isn't a right answer, and that's the problem. Now, I'm sitting here on a trash can Mac, but I've got this behemoth of a laptop here that's more than powerful enough to do this stuff, so it's not a horsepower problem. I'm running a mainline distribution. I'm installing packages as I'm supposed to, and I'm still having issues. On this Mac, I even had issues porting in a Windows XP VM that I already had pre-set up on another system. So, take this for what you will. But this is my headaches for the past day trying to get this stuff to behave. You want to talk about frustrating. This is why I really dislike VMware, even though their software is very performant. So here I am on my ThinkPad, and I launched a Windows 10 VM so I could install Blender and do some importing and exporting I needed to do. However, Control-Alt is supposed to release my cursor, and I've had this error pop up that says it could not be changed to the selected monitor layout. So this is a new version of VMware. This is their 25H2 version. And for some reason, it needed an update to VMware tools. That's fine, right click install. I full screen the VMs so I could have it full screen on this workspace, because I can do trackpad gestures. And you can see I can do that, but I have no mouse cursor. I'm pressing super, nothing happens. Function keys don't seem to work, and no mouse. Even if I use like my trackball here, nothing. Literally nothing. And so I'm just frozen here. I have to hard power off my machine. So good job, VMware. You suck balls. And this is the kind of software quality that we get from VMware these days. It's terrible. I'm literally, even though they are more performant than the other solutions, I'm literally uninstalling them because of stupid shit like this. So yeah, I was sitting here and trying to get Blender working inside that virtual machine, and what I found out was OpenGL doesn't quite work as expected. So the VirtualBox graphics driver can't do OpenGL 4, so Blender just refuses to launch, and that makes it pretty much impossible to actually like load the plugins I need in Blender and import and export files, which is kind of a bummer. Yeah, then there's Virt Manager. Now, this footage has not been sped up. This is exactly how bad a fresh Windows 10 VM runs in Virt Manager for me. All I did was full screen it. It doesn't matter if it's full screened or not. This is just what it does. And it just runs atrociously. I don't know why. I've tried multiple builds. I've tried Windows 11, Windows 10. Windows 7 won't even install. It fails to even boot. I've double checked that I've got all the drivers installed. I went and got the latest Spice drivers, the stable Spice drivers. Nothing seems to work. And it's weird because my Proxmox does in fact work. So I don't understand why this is a problem here. And sometimes I've even gotten around it. Like GNOME Boxes does have reasonable or okay performance. It's just the way they organize the files is so asinine, you can't find them afterwards. And if you do find them, it's difficult to sync them in a way that will cause the virtual machine to actually work afterwards. It's very frustrating. And yeah, I do manage to get the resolution changed here, but you can just tell Windows just feels bad. And this is my experience with Virt Manager, except on my Proxmox machine. I don't know what they do differently, but it just works. So take that for what you will. So first, we're going to knock on VMware's door. VMware, bro. I'm going to rip my eyeballs out here and my hair. You had a good product. You truthfully had a good product. The fuck are you doing? I get it. It's Broadcom's tentacles doing all this. But they had a fantastic product, and they, to some degree, still do. Performance is almost as if I'm running it on hardware. It's very good. The GPU driver they have is quite excellent. The performance is quite good. I can run pretty much whatever I want in that virtual machine, and it runs pretty good performance. It's not as good as having a dedicated GPU, but it's pretty damn good. Next up on that list is VirtualBox. VirtualBox. You too get a ding in my book. You're a dumbass. I appreciate your project here is open source. Other than the extension pack, which we're not going to get into, that's its own whole mess. It is a decent product, but it's kind of jank. And I've heard a lot of mixed bag about, is it a good solution? Is it a bad solution? Is it a good idea, bad idea? I've been called many things using it. I have been accused by people who run Linux that it's a complete piece of dog crap. Why are you using it? I have also shown people it works great on my hardware. I don't know what the right answer is. There's a lot of stars that go with that. It is simple, but at the same time, it has problems that shouldn't be a thing. There's a weird quirk. If you're like me and I have both Virt Manager and VirtualBox installed, you just can't launch your virtual machines in VirtualBox because it uses the same modules, I guess. I don't entirely understand. but you have to run an R probe, I believe it was an rmod command, to basically tell the kernel to kick out the KVM kernel modules and let VirtualBox, and that lets VirtualBox use them. Like, it's annoying, but I could uninstall Virt Manager, which I probably will, and deal with that, and that would solve itself. It's annoying though, because you could be trying out multiple solutions and then not get that. 3D support is something I didn't even touch on. VMware's 3D support is fantastic. VirtualBox's is still good. The guest editions are pretty straightforward to install. They're not even necessarily required on Linux. You'll get pretty decent acceleration without them, but if you want to use some of the more advanced features, you'll need the extension pack. Or not the extension pack. You'll need the guest editions. The extension pack is something else totally. But 3D graphics acceleration on Windows is a different story. Now, it seems like Windows 10 and Windows 11 work relatively okay for basic stuff. I'm talking Word, PowerPoint, Excel, PDF viewers. Even my SketchUp software works. It complains a little bit. I think there was one or two times where I've had some weird graphical artifacts. No idea why. But, I tried, for the sake of this video, I needed a virtual machine to install a plugin into Blender so I could import SketchUp files into Blender and then save them out as a blend file. Well, you can see the screen. VirtualBox's driver doesn't support OpenGL 4. So I can't even open Blender. So how am I supposed to install a plugin that's Windows only and then grab a model and save it out? Total fail. And this is not just this application. Their OpenGL support just doesn't seem very good. If you're thinking you're going to play an old game in VirtualBox, get out of here. I have an XP VM purely for nostalgia and fun, and maybe some of this old software behind me, but it ain't good. All right, it's just not good. So it's frustrating at times. I've also had the DKMS make my system unstable. I have, knock on wood or something, not had an issue in recent times. Now for the part that is probably going to piss off some hardcore Linux people, and to you people, I know this is hard. Touch grass. I am simply talking about my experience with KVM Virt Manager, not necessarily the experience you must have with this piece of software. I know people who have showed me it works perfectly fine, and you want to know how I know it can work perfectly fine? I have a Proxmox server that uses the same technology and runs fine. It's over the network and the latency is too high to do CAD things. It's great for testing Linux distros. That's what I primarily use my Proxmox for. And its inherent use of KVM or Virt Manager. The issue being, almost every distro doesn't ship with the Spice drivers. Some do, some don't. You just got to install them. It's Spice VD Agent. It's pretty straightforward. But here's the problem with that. In the case of Windows, you have to go out to a third-party website and muck around because there's not one URL to get this stuff from. Go find the Virt.io Win guest tools and install the Spice drivers that way. You can get just the drivers. I usually install the guest tools to get everything. However, I don't know why, but the Spice graphics driver has no 3D acceleration in Windows. It's 2D only. So the performance is awful. If you set it to QXL, which is a 2D accelerated deal, it runs okay. But again, no 3D acceleration. That is a thing with Windows, and there hasn't been a solution to that ever. I've tried GNOME Boxes, which is just an easy front end. I've tried QuickEmu. I've tried Virt Manager itself. Fun fact, Virt Manager, for me, for whatever reason on my hardware, runs in slow motion. Doesn't happen to Proxmox. And when I use VirtViewer to connect to that KVM virtual machine, works fine. But if you try to view it through Virt Manager itself, it's laggy, it's slow, it's in slow motion. The frame rate's awful. I don't know why. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Like I said, was there a point to today's shenanigans? Not really. I mostly just wanted to complain that I've been struggling to find a good solution to virtualize software. And I do think that it is more of a problem than people say it is. So with that, I hope you have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.